All right, good morning, everyone, and thank you for coming and participating in our systems improvement team this morning. And then just some housekeeping details. Here's today's agenda. We're going to have a welcome from our Fearless Bureau Director, Derek Flurlog. Have some member introductions because we have some new folks to the space, which we're really excited to have you participate. We're going to have Megan Cluth go over some childcare licensing and early childhood system updates, which I will also share a little bit about the licensing space and some updates and where we want to take the systems improvement team over this next calendar year. But can we just have just a quick moment of celebration and know that we are now fully a month into our effective date of our new regulations, which were effective August 2nd of 2024. And really want to give a shout out to our systems improvement team because over this, the last year, you were amazing. We would not have been able to have such quick feedback, input, if it wasn't for the systems improvement team. We were able to, send out the bat signal and say, let's group and get together. And you were such a great sounding board as we went through that promulgation process and provided good input during our open comments period. And just really want to, all of that work reinforced why you love to be a part of this team and what you do in this early childhood space. So I just really wanted to say thank you. And I still feel like I need a nap over that last year, maybe a whole week. And I'll talk to my supervisor about that. But again, just could not be more excited to see that, I always say it has that new car smell when we first put them on our website. And do recognize we have some errors that we're working on, but very minuscule to the overall scope and work that we did. I can live with a comment and a slight misinterpretation and on some of the regulations, but overall they have been moving forward as intended. So just really wanted to thank everybody for that. And then I will turn over our welcome to Derek Flurlock.
Thanks, Melissa. I'm going to be a little bit vulnerable with you guys. I closed on a new home yesterday, and I'm actually off today, still moving. So I'm going to start my video, but shutter your eyes for me if you would. So here I am in my glorious moving attire outside of a currently empty home that will hopefully be set up for living by the end of later today. Had the first sleep here last night, and at the same time transitioned my youngest to a big girl bed and co-sharing a room with her bigger sister. So lots of change in our household. I'm going to spin that into a lot of change in the childcare system in Kansas, and really excited for this team. We've talked a lot about our program, licensing, having to be willing to be vulnerable over the last year and a half or so in terms of putting ourselves out there in the public space and engaging with partners and engaging with the systems improvement team as well. We've talked a lot about this team to partners, to the legislature, to executive leadership at KDHE, and the important role that the team has fulfilled in the past and will continue to fulfill into the future. And just really, really excited for this. I think we'll talk a little bit here in a while about some of the changes that we see for this team and some different engagement and some different purpose for it too. So with that being said, I will turn it back over to whomever. And Melissa, I will think about your nap request, though I think it will be approved.
Thank you, Derek. All right, great. Let's move into member introductions, Megan.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Melissa and Derek. I can just do a quick introduction of myself because you'll see me. I'm Megan Cluth. I'm a research project manager at the Center for Public Partnerships and Research at KU. We partner with Melissa and Derek and their team at KDHE to support this group. And from CPPR, we also have Clayton Gerard and Bree Houston joining us. So you'll see all of our names. So we've got a lot of returning faces. We also have a lot of new faces. So first of all, thank you for being here. We know there are a lot of other places that you could easily fill your schedule being, and just really appreciate your commitment to this group, and are so excited to welcome some new people. So we would like to take a little time to get to know each other before we get into the rest of our agenda. So we will just open the floor. I'm going to actually.
Megan, can I start? Because I
Oh,
failed to
please
say.
do. Absolutely. Actually, you and Melissa both should. Thank you.
I failed to say, and you all may hear my 3-year-old going down our new slide for the first time, so that's fun too. But I'm the bureau director, by the way, for family health at KDHE. So the bureau holds a couple of different programs. I oversee the WIC program, our state palliative care program, and then our administration and policy team does legislative work and regulations. And then childcare licensing fits into the bureau. I report directly to Ashley Goss, who's the deputy secretary, and then Secretary Stanek. And that's kind of my role at KDHE. So just to reiterate that we all really can't do what we do without one another. I rely really heavily on both Jarvis and Melissa for information, but make no mistake about it, they're the ones doing the hard work, and then that just flows on down the line to make childcare as a system possible in Kansas. So that's my little spiel, and I cannot believe I failed to introduce myself. Also, I guess I should say I'm married to a labor and delivery nurse. Her name is Kaylee. We have 3 kids. I can say publicly now we are expecting our 4th and final, and we just found out Saturday, Melissa, this is news to you, that it's a boy. So we will have an oldest boy, 2 middle girls, and a youngest boy come March, and we are, dare I say, excited. Thank you.
So I can't top that by any means. But I am Melissa Schoenberger. I am the licensing director that focuses on systems and field services. I only have one child. She is 22. And my favorite person in the whole world is our 13-year-old Sheltie named Jasley, who is my buddy every single day. And so my life in comparison is very quiet to Derek's. And I think he needs the week nap, not myself, but doubt he's going to get that anytime soon. But do appreciate the leadership within our structure at KDHE. Because as you see today, as we move through this conversation, Derek and I always come from a framework of we have to evolve as a state, as an agency, as in a program. I have been in this childcare licensing space for approximately 20 years. And if we did not evolve, and the rapid movement that we've had in just the last 2 years speaks to that, then we don't. That's who I surround myself when I look at my team. Is that we are constantly moving and evolving and looking at where we can meet parents and families and providers versus them coming and meeting us. Definitely have changed our mindset of where we are as a program and what we need to do, and just appreciate the leadership that Derek provides. Is when I come up with some kind of crazy idea or he has, it's always like, well, how do we get there? Not, we can't do that. It's more, how do we move to yes? And how do we get there? We know we have some things we're gonna have, hard, fast nose on. Because we look at health and safety, but always challenging the system and moving forward has been really something that I appreciate that we do. So that being said, what other new members? Because I can see a few on screen. So I'm just going to start the ball rolling and say, hey, Dana, why don't you introduce yourself and the role that you play in the Northwest part of our state?
All right. Well, thank you, Melissa. My name is Dana Stanton, and I am the Child Care Program Specialist for the Northwest Kansas Economic Innovation Center. Our facility is located in Norton, but most of our workers are remote, and I'm coming to you from Hays, Kansas. In a nutshell, which is hard to put my job in a nutshell, but half of my job is helping support childcare providers The other part of my job is helping Northwest Kansas communities address childcare solutions. So that this would be this group is a really good fit for me because KDHE plays such a crucial role with our communities and our childcare providers, and it's a pleasure to be here. Thank you.
And in her spare time, because I know Dana, she loves to volunteer. Well, I say volunteer because I think it's just amazing in our community theater production. So I usually see her or her husband at any given time in our local time, and I never know how she has the spare time for that. So I have to give a private little shout out to a final
Well, I'll
having
say
somebody.
because my kids are out of the house now too, so I have an abundance of time.
So yes, Jane is definitely multifaceted. Lisa Isaacson, I think I'm saying your name right, and just gonna keep on rolling with new names I see.
Yes, so I'm Lisa Isaacson. I am the Executive Director of the Child Care Accelerator and the Child Care Business Initiative in Manhattan. I'm also the Director of Early Childhood Education at Manhattan Area Technical College.
Thank you. Abby.
Hi, everyone. I'm Abby Stockebrand. I'm the Director of Human Resources and Systems Analyst for Hutchinson Public Schools, as well as I have served as a consultant for the Reno County Child Care Task Force for the last 18 months to 2 years or so. So I'm excited to be a part of this group and learn more.
And Abby is an innovator. Okay, Megan, I that's all I see on my screen. I'm gonna throw it back to you if you have others, or if we want to go through just everybody.
Yeah, I would love to just go through everybody so we get names. I'm just gonna go through on my screen. So if anybody's like not in a space to chat, just let us know. Adrian, you're next on my screen.
I'm Adrian Ladd. I am with the City of Wichita Child Care Licensing Program. I am what they call a working supervisor. Not only do I oversee 4 other licensing specialists, I actually go out and do on-site visits as well. Let's see, why am I participating? I think it's important to share what we see out in the field as licensing specialists, but also to share with everybody what the providers are sharing with us so that their voice is heard as well. Personal note, I have a senior in high school, so I'm riding the roller coaster of emotions and going through the whole college athletic scholarship puzzle pieces as we put it together. So nice to meet you all.
Thank
Adrian,
you.
Fort Hays has a great school overlooked in western part of the state. So just letting you know that.
Well, if I have my say, it's going to be Emporia, but I don't even think they're on the radar right now.
Amy?
Hi, my name is Amy Staub, and I am a district specialist with KDHE, and I'm based out of Hayes. And I'm anxious to see what new ideas we come up with throughout our meetings. So excited to be here.
Thank you, Amy. Mandy, you're next on my screen.
Good morning. My name is Mandy Waugh, and I'm with Child Start. I am the Early Childhood Connections Program Director. I am super excited to be here just to see what everyone else is doing and just, across the state and whatnot. Adrian, like you, I have a child who's a senior this year. However, college isn't a thing. He has autism, so he is like super excited to be done with school. Not knowing he moves on to a different program after that, but I'll wait until after he graduates to tell him that. But I have a junior this year, so next year we'll get that full senior experience, and it's hard. But that one I'm excited about. She's in the CNA program. She wants to be a nurse, so I can push her in that right direction. So, but yeah, I'm just super excited to be here with all of you.
Thanks, Mandy. Emily.
Hi, Emily Barnes. I'm the Education Policy Advisor for Kansas Action for Children. Before that, I was Family Child Care Provider in Kansas. I'm located in Olathe, but you will find me quite frequently in Topeka doing work in the State House with KAC, with all of our advocacy. I'm involved in this. I've been involved in the systems improvement team off and on for the last 2 to 4 years. Consistently for the last 2 years as we've developed everything. And part of why I'm still here is because the good work that we're doing. It takes all of us. Everything that we've gotten done in the last few years was because we have a multitude of talented people. So being able to work alongside all of you is what keeps me doing this. And I also have a senior this year and am treading through all of that. He has decided on Manhattan. He's headed to K-State for the animal science program, ideally pre-vet. So Adrian, I'm right there with you, walking it. And yeah, so glad to be here.
Thanks, Emily. We actually have 2 Emily B's. Is it Emily Bonilla?
Yeah, Bonilla. Yep. I'm Emily Bonilla. I am an assistant director with the Kansas State Department of Education Child Nutrition and Wellness team. So our main office is located in Topeka, but we have consultants all over the state, and they work with school districts, childcare centers, home providers, and home sponsors to implement the child and adult care food program and the school nutrition programs. So early childhood has always been a passion of mine. I've worked at a childcare center before this and was also a CACFP consultant, and now I'm in the assistant director role. So I've seen different sides of childcare and have 2 young children myself that have been in childcare. So that's an important thing to me, and I'm excited to be here. This is my first meeting, so I look forward to working with you all.
Welcome, Emily. We will do Christian and then Kristen.
Hey, good morning. My name is Christian Kaufman. I'm a project architect with Tesserae in Wichita. I've been working exclusively on childcare projects for a few years now. So I'm excited to kind of get in and talk a little bit more about how we can like remove hiccups in some of the design of these facilities while keeping everything safe, obviously, for children and staff. So yeah, I'm excited to learn a little bit more and talk with everyone.
Welcome, Christian. I have to say, I've been wanting somebody in the space for a while to join us so we can talk about barriers and facilities. And Christian has been in multiple meetings of, hey, we need to get Christian involved. We need to talk about the space. And so really just he's really worked the gamut of all of our district specialists, I think, and myself going over lots of accelerated grantees and seeing them come to fruition. Just love I think this is just why I'm pausing is this is just the non-traditional, when you think about our systems improvement team, early childhood space, what that looks like. And I think your participation, Christian, just illustrates that we can't put anything in a box and we need everybody at the table to continuously move everything forward. So just really appreciate your passion and glad you could join us.
Yes, glad to be here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kristen Jones. I'm the licensing specialist for Neosho in Cherokee County. Before coming to this side 5 years ago, I was an in-home provider myself, and I have 2 kiddos, a sophomore and a 6th grader. Early childhood has always been my passion, and I just think what a great opportunity we have to be the change we want to see in the world.
Thank you. Rachel Jury.
Hey, hi, Rachel Jury. I am an infant toddler specialist with Casito, and I am just excited to be here, kind of be that in between of being that support person for childcare providers and helping them see kind of the why behind why we do what we do and that professionalism and how to really provide more than just the babysitting, right? Like that really, like you guys are doing such a huge, important job and really helping to instill that passion in them. But also being able to speak up for them as well. So kind of that balance between right and meeting in the middle. So I'm really excited to be able to continue that work.
Great. Thank you, Rachel. And I know Patty Peschel with Casito also put in the chat that she is traveling, but just wanted to note that she will be joining us as the executive director of Casito as well. All right, we've got Amanda and then Ria.
Good morning, everybody. My name is Amanda Peterson. I'm the Director of Early Childhood at the Kansas State Department of Education. Our team at KSDE is responsible for things like state preschool programs and some grant funding that comes along with that, parents as teachers programming, early childhood special ed. And oftentimes we are a call that we are the person that a school district might call if they want to expand in the area of childcare or early childhood and they don't quite know where to start. So I'm excited to serve on this group so that I can help make connections and help support them in that work and help us all think about how our licensed childcare facilities and our state preschool programs can work best together. So I'm excited for all of that. I am also the very proud parent of a 6-month-old. We are in week 4 of childcare, and it's going really great for our family. So if we have a contest for who is most tired and most in need of a nap, I'm doing pretty good this week, but I feel like I'm a strong contender. So it's good to be here.
And I was just going to say, where's our Owen sighting? Like, where
He's
is
doing, he had
just-
really gotten to a place where he was bored in the office. He was over Zooms. So he is having a great time rolling around and sitting out by himself in childcare.
All right. Well, thank you.
But he is doing great.
Tina Donovan.
Hi, I'm Tina Donovan. I'm the district specialist out of with CCL out of the Southeast region. I'm located in the Iola Chanute area. I'm just excited to get started on new projects.
Great, thank you. Melissa Bowles, I know you put your name in the chat. Are you in a spot to introduce yourself?
I am. I have a pretty small crew here today. So I am Melissa Bowles, and I am a family child care provider in Manhattan. And I am huge in advocating for providers. A lot of times I'll get providers that contact me to ask me questions about different things. And I try to help them out as I can. So I was sent an email and here I am. So I'm happy to be here to see what's going on.
Wonderful. We are so happy to have you and know you're juggling many meeting things today. So for anybody, if any point you need to go off camera and take care of anything, please feel free. We totally understand in this group. Jennifer Manuel.
Hi, I'm Jennifer Manuel. I am with KDHE Childcare Licensing as the Field Services Supervisor. So my office is based in the Wichita area, but I cover the whole state. And like Tina and Amy, I'm just excited to see what kind of new projects and ideas we come up with and see how we move forward.
Perfect. Angela?
Hello, I'm Angela White. I am a child care licensing specialist. I cover Johnson, Miami, and Franklin County. I live in Olathe. I've been doing this work for about 13 years now. I also have a junior and senior at home, so my household is definitely in the trenches. Pray for us. My son is a senior and is hopeful to play college football, so we'll see where that goes. And I'm here to just advocate and support early childhood professionals.
Wonderful, thank you. I'll do Kelly and then Bernie.
Hi, I'm Kelly France Langford. I am the director of TARC's Children's Services and Technology Program, Assistive Technology Program. I am wearing my Infant Toddler Services of Kansas hat, and I'm very excited to share that we have started a new branding program. So across the state, we were formerly known as Tiny K. And all of our local programs have agreed to use Infant Toddler Services of Kansas, provided by, and then the local program. So we are provided by TARC, and I'm hoping to update or add the logo into the chat so you can start to see the colors and the logo that we'll be using across the state. So I'm very passionate about inclusive childcare, and I appreciate all the work that this team has done. On a personal note, my husband and I have a 22-year-old, 19-year-old, and 10-year-old. So everyone that's talked about senior year in college, I feel ya, it's a big year. And we are going to be excited to do that again in a few short years. So we get to practice one more time. And yeah, that's it. I live in Lawrence, Kansas, work in Shawnee County, and in Topeka. So I'm excited. Welcome to all the new people.
Hi, good morning. My name is Bernie Beard, and I am the Executive Director at K-State Center for Child Development. We are a licensed child care program on the K-State campus in Manhattan. And I am here, I'm been in various roles in the state, but I just continue to be interested in supporting anything I can that that promotes quality childcare in Kansas. And so I've been a part of this group for some years now. I don't know how many at this point, but just happy to still be here and adding my voice to that work.
Thank you. Annelle and then Bethany.
Good morning. I'm Annelle Harmon. I'm in Wichita. I'm Harmon and Harmon Family Child Care. And my interest is in advocating for family child care. I, like Emily Barnes, I've been really excited what has gone on the last couple of years with this team. It's been fun to work with. I've seen great changes, and I've enjoyed having our voice heard and felt like the team has been very receptive of hearing the voices that were out there. So it's been a fun time. I look forward to continuing another year.
To Heather and Noelle. Heather Ritchie.
Hi, I'm Heather Ritchie. I'm the child care licensing supervisor for, we call ourselves the Wildcat region. We have 5 counties: Riley, Geary, Clay, Potawatomi, and Dickinson County. I have 3 specialists that cover those counties. And then I'm also out in the trenches, probably not as much as Adrian, but still do some of that work out in the field. I can also give a big shout out for Fort Hays. My daughter just graduated from there. Even though I am an Emporia State graduate, I also tried that route, but it didn't happen. So I'm just becoming an empty nester. So I married our youngest off in June, and so we are just navigating that. So I've been in childcare licensing for 15 years now, and as a specialist, and then I also worked at KDHE for a while, and then came back to the local field staff, which is that's where I like to be. So I'm looking forward to some of the projects. Melissa's told me a little bit about maybe one of them, so I'm kind of excited to hear how that is going to play out, and love to advocate too for our providers.
No, I see. I was having a mute struggle. I think you're maybe having the same. I will come back to you, and hopefully mine took a minute to resolve. Right. Aaliyah, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Yep, that's right, Aaliyah Jarrett. I'm in Wyandotte County. I'm the program supervisor for childcare licensing. Going on my 18th year, so I tell everybody that as punishment, 18. So there's been a lot of changes, and so I think the best work that we do is together for our kids, and so I'm excited to be here because I think one of the things that I'm seeing that's inspiring is the providers are speaking out for themselves and really celebrating the relationships that they have with licensing. It's a positive relationship. I think we're working together, and I like to see that continue because it's for the best work for our kids. And so glad to be here.
Thanks. We're glad to have you. Noelle, it looks promising over there.
Yes, my name is Noelle Sanderson. I am from Hayes. I am the co-director of Learning Cross Agape, which is the pilot program for the small centers. Basically, I'm here because it's Brett Schmidt's fault. Um, yes. So I also have a senior in high school and an 8th grader. So yes, I am a little nervous to be on this team, but excited to see all the things that could come from it.
Yeah, no need to be nervous. We're thrilled to have you. And I mean, always we're glad to have Brett. So excited to have a new face. All right. Bethany.
Hi, Bethany Samuel. I work for DCF. I'm the QRS supports manager, so I work with Links to Quality. I also do some consumer education for our Child Care Development Block Grant. And I just got back from maternity leave like last week. So I think I might beat Amanda as far as the sleep deprivation is. And this is my baby Evan. So yes, third boy, and we are calling it quits with the third.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And welcome back.
Yeah.
Yeah, congratulations, Bethany. Welcome back. And I'm sure it was all beat. Like none of it, I can't even pretend. I'm just gonna yeah. And I bet you Nikki's excited to have you back because every time I met with Nikki, she was like, I gotta wait for Bethany. I have a question for Bethany. So I hope they're letting you, DCF is letting you transition back slowly as you're getting through and acclimated back. So good to have you and your little one. So I got my baby fix, Amanda. I just still got my baby fix. So glad to have you back, Bethany. And if anybody had the pleasure of seeing Bethany while she was pregnant, it was the cutest thing because you didn't even know she was if you saw her. And then she turned around and suddenly she just had this baby bump. And so it was real. Your baby bump was real.
Charlotte.
Good morning, everybody. I am in Southwest Kansas, and we have 22 counties. I'm the director of the Child and Adult Care Food Program for Russell Child Development Center. I used to be a child care provider many, many years ago, and I'm just here to help in any way we can to help young women realize this is a viable business, and I would like to help grow that.
Welcome, Charlotte. All right, Christy.
My name is Christy Shunn, and I'm a social worker and the director of the Kansas Infant Death and SIDS Network. So what brings me mostly to this meeting is safe sleep. We know that it's one of the leading causes of infant mortality, and we know with childcare regs that we need safe sleep education out there. So that's what brings me here. But also, on the personal note, I have a 24-year-old, and at the time that I had a small child and had this great job, I struggled with childcare and finding quality childcare. So I just want young families to have access to really good childcare, folks that are trained, and I know there's a lot of people out there that want to provide that kind of care. So trying to link that up. It will also say I might leave my camera off, but I am listening intently. We had our 24th annual golf tournament yesterday. And I am recovering a little bit from moving cubes of pop and beer and things around a golf course yesterday. So I am listening intently and will do whatever I can to support this effort for not just quality childcare, but also make sure that safe sleep is embedded comfortably within the system. Thanks.
Thank you. Right. Is everybody gone or have we missed anyone?
Did Rhea get to go? Rhea, did you go?
Hi, I'm Rhea Days. Sherman County Health Department. I am the licensing specialist. I do 6 counties here in Northwest region. I'm excited what this team is going to do. I love the checklist that we put together, the provider orientation checklist. I love handing that out and knowing that we had a part of that. And so I'm just excited what's going to happen next.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else?
Anel, I know she dropped her name in the chat, but Anel, do you want to Are you at a point, did you want to add anything to that?
No, just excited to see what we can do this year. You think we've got it all done, and I'm sure there's more work to do.
Because how many years have you been a provider now in this space?
For 34 years.
Yep, so we have a lot to learn from Anel.
Yes.
Right. I apologize if I missed anyone else. Okay. Well, thank you all for taking the time to do that. We really, we spend a good amount of time together and want to get to know each other, and loved hearing a little bit about your personal lives as well. And I have a 1-year-old, so the idea of like a senior in high school feels like about a century away, but I think I'll probably blink a couple times and we'll be there. So good luck to everybody in that phase, and to all the baby parents, because that is also challenging. But we are excited to have you back, and this group has done such good work over the past few years. So really excited to keep the momentum going and have some new perspectives with us. So I'm going to just quickly share a few updates from the childcare or the early childhood system. Feel free to stop if you have any questions, but I know this is a lot of information, and some of this may be familiar. I know some of you are actually very familiar with this because you've been grantees, but for those who aren't familiar, last year there was a program launched by the Children's Cabinet called the Child Care Capacity Accelerator. It was funded through a variety of funding. Melissa, I just saw you come off mute.
Oh, nope, accident.
Oh, you're good. I thought you had something. It was a mix of funding from some of the COVID dollars and preschool development grant and CCDF. So about $54 million was awarded throughout the state through 79 awards. And the great thing about this funding was it actually allowed construction money, capital funding. So new construction and renovation, which is just, that money is just rare. So it was very exciting. It was a highly competitive grant process. And in addition to those 79, or part of the 79 awards were 16 communities got what we called innovation communities dollars. And so quite a few grantees actually had both. So they were doing some construction while also testing out some new strategy that they wanted to do. So we had several people focused on workforce and would do kind of professional development tracks, or looking at like how do we get more money in the hands of providers. Public-private partnerships was a pretty big one, trying to find different funders in the community. We also had a grantee that was looking at specifically childcare navigation support for BIPOC families. So it was a pretty big variety of what people had, but they had a year to kind of be able to just test some new things. So it's really exciting to have that type of funding. And quite a few, I feel like every week we're getting a, ribbon cutting invitation or a photo of a facility opening. And so it's super exciting to be following all of these sites, because ultimately the accelerator dollars will lead to 5,600 new slots in Kansas. So that's a big deal. And if you're in a community that has this funding or has the other funding I'm going to talk about, I hope you get a chance to actually like stop and celebrate and see some of the kids entering these halls of the new buildings, because it's amazing to see the photos. There was also a grant called the Capital Funds Project, excuse me, I'm losing my words today, Capital Projects Fund Accelerator. So this was specifically focused on multi-purpose facilities. It was the way that it was due to it being US Treasury dollars, and it was a requirement, but it gave communities a really interesting opportunity to say, we're trying to create a facility or renovate a facility that has childcare, but also does something related to work and employment, education, and health monitoring. So we had 10 grantees that each had their own spin in their community of like what that kind of combination of services would look like. But the idea was that it was a very community focused site that met needs across generations and across populations. So 771 slots will be added through that project. So all in all, more than 6,000 slots through funding over the past year and a half, which is super exciting. And if anybody has questions, feel free to stop me. Here's a map of where all these grantees are. If anybody has questions, or you're like if they're in your community and you want to know more, feel free to reach out to me or put it in the chat, and we can get you those details. But it's been, as other people have said, a very exciting couple of years in the early childhood system, and we try to just keep everybody apprised of the different things that are going on. And certainly if there are other funding opportunities, we'll bring those to share as well. All right, Melissa, do you want to talk about the small center?
Yeah, so as Noelle alluded to, we have fully launched 2 small centers. The small center pilot arose out of a need to assess, are we filling a gap in particularly our real rural areas, and more in particular our frontier areas, where we don't have a lot of childcare options. And we recognize that just throwing together a childcare center is just not a reality for our more rural areas of the state. And this is based off of facilities that we've had open, and then sustainability over the years and seeing them close. And then also seeing the uptick of homes in commercial settings. So really trying to find a gap between serving that 13 children to 24, because it really seemed like the nice round number. And then also met a need with our state fire marshal, ensuring that if we went past 24, then you would have to get a code footprint and all of those things that Christian is so intimately aware of as our architect on this team, trying to make sure mitigate some barriers by lowering the cost and coming into that. What was great about our small center pilot is then this was perfect timing with the accelerator grants that were coming across the state, because we were able to then connect some of those communities with the accelerator grantee. And we have 2 up and running right now. We have one in Clark County, which is our community is Ashland, Kansas, is about as frontier as you can get. The total population is 1,900. But what's really great is we were looking at the population growth of that is there's been an uptick in folks living there between 20 and 34. So seeing a resurgence of some new population and some younger and adults. And so that usually translates to childcare. And then wanting to, see about that need. And then we have one in Hayes. So that's a different profile because it's rural, but yet it's rural / feels a little urban, compared to the frontier county. And then looking at launching another one in Rollins, which is Atwood in the far corners of the Northwest, and then in McPherson. And what we've been able to garner so far is we've been working with our KU partners, and they have done some initial evaluation, not just with staff, but really with families and parents. And so it's really interesting to have, see this for the trajectory of these children who are in these placements going to school, and school readiness and all of that, because the whole point of a small center pilot is if preschool resources are limited in their community or non-existent, might just be the school district. The small center pilot really fits a need because you can enroll your child at 3 months and not ever have to move them out because of the multi-age generational or the multi-age setting. Not to be mistaken with our intergenerational, because I was just excited about that the other day, and getting those all mixed up as new innovative components, and really not have to worry about preschool, because we were very intentional about putting our small center pilots under the governance of a child care center because there's lesson plans. We don't require a curriculum, but there are lesson plans from our infant age all the way up to our preschool age. So they are getting that skill set and really getting those children where preschool is limited and ready. And it was an unexpected bonus that we, until we really started doing some of those evaluations with parents, that parents were saying specifically about the small center pilot, they were very excited about that curriculum opportunities and the mixed age delivery system. Because even though we do have some homes in commercial settings, they have to, there's no requirement to have that lesson plan in place. And so sometimes they're seeking out an additional preschool, but this falls under that governance of regulation. So again, unintentional bonus. And then another positive that we're seeing is taking just closed storefronts that wouldn't otherwise just stay empty in a rural community. The one in Clark County was a boutique on Main Street that was just empty. So it was just sitting there and able through the accelerator grants to refurbish that. So when you drive into the community, it's not just an empty storefront. It's very inviting because you can see the play equipment. You see this building that has been refurbished. And the same in Atwood. It's an old dentist office or dentist office that would just be sitting there empty. And so able to reimagine what that space looks like and really looking at and not just adding childcare slots, but then the aesthetic of those storefronts. And I can say that because I went to high school in Oberlin, and every time I drive through my old community and my old stomping grounds and think about, oh, that used to be an Aiton's building and now it's closed. And when you really think about the viability of communities and just the beautification, the aesthetics, and being able to take those storefronts and move them into a whole different direction has just been amazing to me. Again, we have just preliminary results and some recognize that there's some challenges with that multi-age group setting that we're trying to connect our small center pilots to our partners that we see here today and our systems improvement team, but really hopeful of what this can look like and change the conversation in our rural communities. And again, when I spoke earlier about our program being able to evolve and right size regulations to meet the needs. I want to say our small center pilot, it gets the gold star for that right now as we really continue to meet. And just a plug, I had the opportunity 2 weeks ago to travel to Washington, D.C. to be a part of an inaugural conversation on rural communities hosted by the USDA and in partnership with the Office of Child Care, really looking at rural communities and all of that. And one of the things, not unknown to our food program partners here today that we spoke to, and one of them was the small center pilot, is that we want to have access to support systems to all of our providers. Children in reimbursement for the food program should not be, based upon, am I in a residence? And then if I have my home license, am I in a residence? But if I choose to have a home license in a commercial building, I don't get access anymore. And then the real big confusion of once I transition to a child care center, then my access to the food program is based on parents and their viability of, do they make enough money or do they not make enough to be able to apply for that food program. And we weren't the only state that stood up and said, access to the food program should not be based upon all of these other factors. It should just be, I'm a child care facility and I want to be a part of it. And so I really felt like USDA heard us, because we weren't the only state to mention this as a barrier. And so really hopeful that at a federal level, those conversations did not go unnoticed, and really can see some changes in that food program and their eligibility, and not have it be so carved out and just be, I'm a child care provider and we should get access to the food program. So really excited what we can see at a national level for our rural states, and not just you know, what we're having to innovate ourselves. And to be a part of that conversation was really mind altering for me, and really excited to continue that conversation forward at a statewide level. All right, that's
Want to
it.
share any more? I know you mentioned the regulatory review earlier, so just wanted to make sure you
Yeah.
shared enough about that.
Yep, and if you have not had an opportunity to go to our website, there's some updates on that. What I'm really excited about, just to let you know how many providers really wanted to be a part of this conversation, and really understand our regulatory review, is we broke our Zoom record. We were having providers. We did a lot of trainings prior to the effective dates, and then after the effective dates, and did not anticipate that we would have so many folks joining our regulatory trainings. And in fact, we had to turn people away. We met our maximum of 500 on at least over half of our training sessions. And then we had, again, we hosted some after the regulatory sessions were, after the regulations were effective, and still getting almost up to 200 providers for each session joining us. We have transitioned our regulatory trainings to our local licensing specialists. They have the ability to host their own sessions, but we covered almost 4,000 providers just engaging in this and out and watching the traffic to our website. We did do a FAQ, frequently asked questions document, associated with our new regulations. It's a living document, meaning if we get enough common thread of a question sent forth to us, we add it to our FAQs. We have some policy exceptions, as I alluded to earlier, of regulations that we realized, oh, we just made an error and we have to correct it. And there were a couple of them, for example, of we had in existence that if you were a program director and your facility was 60 or less, you could serve as a lead teacher within your program. And we just missed the cross-referencing of that, and we had it embedded that you couldn't do that anymore. And that was really, anything that existed, we did not want to take away. So you will see a policy exception cleaning up that language, saying that, no, we made an error. You can still you don't have to have any other duties. You're not required to then get out of the classroom or out of the unit and then not have that anymore. So we rectify that pretty quickly. And then you'll see one of our latest policy exceptions is the, what is it, Jennifer? It's the hands-free trash can. We do have a regulation that states that any soiled diapers have to be in a covered trash can. We added in a regulation that you had to then purchase a hands-free trash can, and recognize that causes some confusion, some extra burden, and the department made the decision that just to go with the single regulation that requires a covered trash can, and remove the addition of the hands-free trash can. And so that was a policy exception. We shared that with our regulated community. And so again, encourage you, if anybody has burning desire to look at the policy exceptions that we have laid forth, any of the language that we've cleaned up, and that, again, anything we've given a policy exception for, because we recognize it as our own air, we would not be citing a facility for. Very clearly on our homepage, we also have a lovely transition plan that we've shared with facilities. So you'll see some of those things that are required, like Christy spoke to about safe sleep. We are requiring all of our facilities to have a written safe sleep policy. And this is not just for our most vulnerable, it's for all age groups that the facility serves. We have we'll require that not to be in place until January. The same with our emergency preparedness, because our emergency preparedness was a regulation which we provided so many more details to. And we wanted to give the facilities a really good opportunity to spend some time being intentional about how they write that, have some opportunity if they wanted to share that with their licensing specialists. So you'll see that those aren't required to be on file until January of 2025. And in fact, we even have some regulations that we're not fully implementing until August of 2025, really wanting to give facilities some space to get things in place. One of the things you will note we did require earlier is our health and safety training. Health and safety is a federal requirement, and we like to be in compliance with our block grants and the Office of Child Care. And it's something we've noted that we've started talking about a year ago with licensed facilities, that when we were very transparent and with the systems improvement team, that any of our federal requirements that we would we would not entertain conversation, I guess was what I'm trying to say, that these regulations had to be updated. They were required for us to be in compliance as a state, and for access to our continued federal subsidy for families, which is very important in the state of Kansas that we have access to that. And so those requirements, we were very transparent again a year ago that, hey, if you're missing these health and safety trainings, note that you're going to have to get these in place. Shared that in all of our trainings. And then we did some guidance associated with that. So I hope our Casito partners and our child care aware partners, our child resource and referral training partners are getting tons of phone calls of saying, hey, I need this training. And you guys are getting just flooded with folks who needed to still get those requirements. Again, because we started this conversation and really started it through our systems improvement team a year ago to the regulated community that this was coming. And so you'll see that was a transition date in November. But be rest assured, even though we have a target date for all of our regulations, we will continue to work with facilities. Just because you have a transition date of November doesn't mean we're going to be coming knocking on your door, closing any facility up. We have to have target dates so that we can definitely get the vast majority of our facilities in compliance. But we'll continue to work with facilities over this next year as we try to transition everybody into our new regulations. All right, that's it, Megan.
Melissa. Any questions from anybody before we switch to our next topic? Okay. Well, we are excited to, actually, I'm going to go back to that because I want to make sure we have time. Do that at the end. We're excited to share a new kind of vision for this group over the next year and see if this feels, see how this feels to the group, and also just get your input on some potential details. So, we heard Derek share earlier about, I think childcare licensing has really put an emphasis on getting out in the communities, talking with providers, hearing from families, and just being as transparent as possible about kind of what they're doing, and also like wanting to work together to address any challenges and hear where there are just gaps. And so this is Derek brought this forth as kind of the next iteration of that. And the idea is to host a regional roundtable discussion focused on childcare licensing, but also just childcare in each of the 6 regions of the state over the course of the next year. And these discussions would be completely open to the public. I think families and licensed providers would be certainly top of the list to see attend, but would really invite anybody who's got any sort of stake in childcare that they would want to come and share how it's going. And again, it would be focused on just how is the childcare licensing experience in their community? Are there things that are working really well? Are there pain points? And then if so, like how can childcare licensing and how can the early childhood system be responsive and provide a little bit more support? Or if something's working really well, how can we learn from, what's going well in Southeast Kansas that maybe there's something that could be scaled or replicated in another section of the state. So certainly not a new idea completely, but it's a little bit of a new approach and something that we would like to see this group be involved in. So our thought is, we want to hear, first of all, what you think of this idea. But if it feels like a good direction to go, also like what would you want to see on the agenda? What do you feel like the most critical topics are? Are there questions you specifically want answers to? And we'll open it up for discussion here in just a couple minutes. We'd also love help just promoting the events in your network. We will manage like creating like an invite and just make it as easy as possible for you to attach it in an email. Or if you're in a childcare facility, if you'd be willing to share it with families. I think the more people that we can hear from who are actually experiencing it, the better. If they're in your region, we'd love to see you there. And even as we get more into the details, like we're going to talk about kind of how we want to set up the facilitating to make sure it feels like a really safe and welcoming space for everybody, and that there are actually representatives from people who live in the region. Oh, wonderful, Angela. I just saw your note. That's great that your coalition would love to collaborate. And then I'm going to talk about the schedule here in a minute, but the idea is that we will bring the information back from each roundtable, and that this group would really be tasked with, okay, what do we do with this? Like what are the specific, we've done kind of crafting formal recommendations in the past. And so this is kind of like more of like a rapid cycle version of that, of, we're hearing in Northeast Kansas, X, Y, and Z, what can childcare licensing do to quickly respond to that? And then actually take that back to the community to say, we heard you and here's what's happening. So this visual is just trying to show kind of this ongoing feedback loop. And so, Melissa talked about the amazing engagement that they had with the regulatory review, which is super exciting. And we just want to keep building on that and make people feel like, oh, it's not just like once every year, every couple of years that opportunity is there. It's really an ongoing experience so that the system can be really responsive to them. So this is kind of the rough schedule, and I think it could change based on, if something comes up in a region, but our plan is today we're meeting. October, we would meet to, as a full group to kind of narrow in on the final agendas and all of that. And then we actually went ahead and scheduled a first date in Abilene on November 12th. So if anybody's in the North Central region, please mark that date. We did opt to do an evening. I know it's so hard to find a time that works for everybody, but we certainly wanted to make sure that we were finding a time that was as accessible as possible for licensed providers and for families. But we're going to also talk in a minute about we don't want it to feel like, oh, if I'm not available that 90 minutes, I can't participate. That we certainly want to keep the door open for people that are interested in being engaged. So it'll basically, what we're thinking is we'll do kind of an every other month with this full group, and then the other month would be a regional So again, if you're in that region and you're able to make it, that's fantastic. Or at least help promote, that's a huge help. And then like, so in December, we'll have the first one in November, then December, we would bring back kind of the notes from that and start talking about like, okay, like what should we do next? And the goal is very much to keep that transparency and be able to go back to communities quickly and say, here's what the next steps from this conversation are. I think we've all been to meetings where it's a great conversation and then you don't really know what happens. And I think we very much want to not do that in this case. So we're tentatively thinking we'll do South Central in January, Southeast in March, Southwest in May, Northwest in July. Again, if something would shift and it would feel like we need to adjust that, we certainly can. And we'd also love people in your region. If you have a facility, the one in Abilene's actually going to be at a childcare facility, like that would be phenomenal. But if you have other ideas about community spaces that feel like a good fit, we would love help with that. So, and then we'll do for new members, typically we skip the summer for meetings, just to give people a break. We will do that for the full group, but just to make sure we get all 6 regions in a year, we'll do one roundtable over the summer. So that would get us through November to October, covering all 6 regions. We're going to go ahead and keep we have holds for every month for the full group. We'll keep them on calendars because things may come up where we actually do need to meet about other things. Certainly as we get more toward the end of the year, that sometimes happens. So please just hold the time. We'll let you know as soon as possible if we don't feel like that meeting's necessary. But things move fast in this space, and we want to make sure that we've got calendars held just to be safe. So that was a lot of words. So I'm going to give you a minute to like process that, but and I'll stop sharing the screen in just a second, but we really want to hear, like, does this feel good? Does this feel like the right kind of approach? A few other questions, and if you have other feedback, feel free, but we were kind of debating, like, do we do 1 in a region? Is that enough? Regions are pretty big. Do we need to try to do 2? Or I think also, like, do we just kind of try one of these and see what we learn along the way and adjust? How do we ensure opportunities for engagement beyond in-person attendance? Or, people might need to just come for a little bit and, head off and drop their kids off for an activity or whatever. And so we really want to make sure people don't feel like it's the only opportunity. And that, I think, goes throughout the year too. So if we've already done North Central in November, that's certainly, we don't want people to feel like, well, I have to wait until the next year for them to come. So KDHE does have the online comment form for childcare licensing. We can certainly promote that. But if you have other thoughts on how we just help people feel like the door is really open at any point if they have feedback. And then would also just like to hear a little bit about, like, we want it to be a casual conversation, but like, are there specific questions you'd want to see or agenda items or all of that? And then we're also trying to be really mindful of how we share back information with communities. So we'll have like notes, but we also we're kind of toying with the idea of creating like almost like a little like regional profile on childcare for different communities that they can kind of use to like know what is sort of the state of childcare in North Central Kansas, and what are we hearing, and then what's happening from that. So I think we're going to learn a lot as we go, but would love to hear just your initial reaction to this and any ideas that you have.
Hey, Megan, can I share a little bit our thought process? For those of you who are new here, and we talked a little last winter, not unfamiliar to the bill that was proposed and the work by the governor's office for the Office of Early Childhood. That bill did not move forward, and I know we have some CIT team members who were intimately a part of all of that work that was put forth. So the governor's office was very intentional and had community engagements. And so we really, and childcare, even though it was all about early childhood in general, childcare became a hot topic in all of those community engagements. So the bill did not move forward. But we learned information from those engagements. And so what we really wanted to do is move that spirit forward, right? Because even though the bill didn't move forward, doesn't mean that everybody in participating today would not have been impacted. And we can still continue to move what Derek and I call the spirit of the bill without having the actual bill and having this Office of Early Childhood. And so that is just definitely something when we started looking at making ourselves vulnerable to feedback. Well, we've already had it. We did, because that all came out, you know, any of those task force sessions that I know some of you did go to, childcare was discussed in every single one. Like that was a common thread. And so this is an opportunity for the department to get feedback on, you know, what does our customer engagement look like? Are people aware of of who our licensing specialist is? And sometimes is the people, you know, is our consumer aware of the limitations that childcare licensing even has, and that this is actually all that we can do, and the work then moves to our other partners. And who are our other partners? And so definitely wanting to channel that spirit and continue those conversations that were set forth through the governor's task force on the bill with the Office of Early Childhood. But really with we say childcare lens, but there, you know, we're going to get feedback that other partners can benefit from, and within our own system. So because that's what it is, we are a systems improvement team, and we should be sharing information with all of our partners. So really wanted to throw out, like, what was the rationale behind these engagements, and why did we want to move this way? Because we just really need to hear from the folks who are receiving the childcare services, and those that are doing the work, and what we can do better, and what we're doing good at. You know, it's not just what we're doing better, but what we can do better, but what we're doing good at. So if you want to go back, Megan, to your questions, and then throw it out to the group. I didn't know how you wanted to handle feedback.
Just so we can have a conversation, I might not screen share, but I can drop the questions in the chat. And we have already had many people say they'd be happy to host or facilitate. So thank you so much. That is a huge help. And I really love the idea of these being at childcare facilities or yeah, adjacent. So I saw somebody's hand go up. Maybe that was an accidental bump. Well, I will pull the questions over the chat here, but if anybody has thoughts, please feel free to jump in.
But what we would really like is, as a member, to help facilitate that conversation. Our staff will be present, like myself and Derek will be there definitely in Abilene. And so I appreciate Bernie, because if we don't get a lot of takers in Abilene, we can move to Manhattan. But we really would love to have members from this group do some of the conversation, and lead those discussions within our regional groups. So let you kind of mull that over. Anybody in our North Central area, and if you reach out to Megan or myself, both of us, and if you want to be a part of that facility discussion, and lead those conversations in that first area, and then we'll move to the next area, and we're going to learn. I think we're going to anytime you start a new initiative. Our first couple sessions might be really bumpy, and we may circle back and say, now that we know a little bit more, let's go back and rehab a session in our first area. I learned that the hard way a couple times, and I learned you have to just be flexible. So I don't have any expectations for this first one. And we're just going to learn as we move and through each and every location.
And we will, in our October meeting, we will kind of craft what we think the agenda will look like, and then we'll spend that meeting kind of just talking through like what we're hoping to get out of it, and does this feel like the right approach? And yeah, I think as Melissa said, I imagine the fourth or fifth might not look quite the same as the first, and that's okay. And I think it's all in the spirit of just opening the conversation and being transparent and a little bit vulnerable, and asking other people in the community to do the same. So.
And we will have some rules of engagement, because we do not want to go down the pipeline of something that occurred, because we've had this, something that occurred 10 years ago that we have no control over now. But really, what can we do to continuously move childcare in Kansas into, again, just into a new space?
Emily, I saw your hand
Yeah.
up.
So I think based on what I'm seeing in the chat, I love this idea. I think it's a wonderful idea. And I would say honestly, like I don't really have a suggestion on, what would I like to see on agendas. I think that's going to have to be based on, you're going into North Central Kansas, and what are you hearing from that community, and can that influence the agenda? But I think what we will find is, is one event per season or region sufficient? I bet the answer is going to be no, it's not, because what I know about the different communities, the workforce, the childcare workforce, the educational support system that we have, all the different CCR&Rs, once people learn that their voice truly does matter in this conversation, people tend to join in. And I would say the best thing is seeing the excitement that immediately popped up in our chat. I would say as a team, kind of help these ideas percolate on where we could start it, but use a lot of, curiosity and intentionality towards figuring out what it blossoms into. We may find that the first one or two are a little clunky, but then we get into session and man, there's stuff coming down the pike, real fast, and that kind of guides some of how this develops. We may see a little bit of that, the ebb and flow, as we go in and out of legislative session across the next year. And that would be my feedback for this, but I'm excited about it, and I think it's a great idea.
I would agree, Emily. Like the first couple ones are going to be like, oh, we didn't know this was happening. Can we do it over again? So we will have to adjust and pivot as we move forward, because I do think that's what's going to snowball across provider groups across the state. Oh, didn't know this was happening, and how do we then get the momentum? And now.
I'm also excited about this happening. One of the ones that I feel aren't in these meetings are parents. Now, I know all of you are parents, the majority of us are, but we also have some vested interest. And to me, I think that's the voice that we don't hear, is the parents who don't know what the regs are, the parents who are out there trying to find care. And that's what I think, that this could be a meeting that they could have a voice, because that's really who we're serving and you're serving. That's our customer. And that we need to hear more what they have to say. So I'm excited for them to be able to come, and I don't know how to pull them in, but I'm excited for them.
Which is going to be my challenge to you, and now think about it over the next month before we start advertising, and how we get to the consumers, because I think that's, in a nutshell, that's what you just because it could be a parent, it could be a grandparent, it could be a foster parent. How do we get them to the table to discuss their what they have, and really thinking about our rural areas who parents have no choice, but they have 2 daycares in, a 60-mile radius. And they're just looking. So yeah, I want to really hear their voice so we can, so I can pass that information on to our friend Emily, who can then, as we move into legislative session, that she can share some of the, besides just the provider voice, but the parent voice too.
Melissa, I see your hand up. Melissa Bowles.
I would agree with the parents portion of it, but also I think what's important is especially, and it's good to see that we have, sorry, it's good to see that we have so many different agencies on here, but just the agency involvement across the board. Like, I feel like it can't just be like a provider and licensing thing. Like, I think sometimes when providers see the agencies working so well together to support the providers, that almost builds a sense of community around the providers as well. Because oftentimes there's, at least in our area, the counties kind of, Manhattan providers don't want to hang out with Potawatomi County providers, or there's always kind of a line, it feels like, or Riley County providers don't want to hang out with Curie County providers. And so I like the ideal of it being regional, but also just knowing, especially in our area where it's such a transient community, and we all need to support each other because there is more than enough there's not enough spaces to fill all the children. Not one childcare can take all the children, is what I'm trying to say. So I just think it's important to remember that at these events, to try to have a face there that isn't just providers and isn't just licensing. That way, so it's building the bigger community of support across the state, if that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense. I think that's a great perspective. And I also really like the idea of, providers may not necessarily feel like they have kind of a network of other providers and peers. I think we've heard that for a long time. And certainly, I mean, as a newer parent, I don't always know parents in the area, and it can be isolating. And so my hope is that's like a secondary benefit of, I think all of these experiences you can feel pretty alone, and to help people say like, wow, there's a lot of other people in different roles trying to address this in the region. That's great feedback. Anyone else have feedback or questions or ideas? Dana, go ahead.
Just a logistics type of concern. If we want to have parents there, as we're planning childcare, is, sometimes something that's going to get more providers who have kids and parents who have kids there. Sometimes that's hard, but that would certainly probably help attendance.
That is a big thing at a lot of events I've noticed in our area, even like if we just do like a provider get together, is that it tends to be providers who are single parents, or they're like, well, I can't go because I have my own child or something. So it might be something, at least I know in our area, where you could partner with K-State Early Childhood Department, or even I know our high school has a good FACS department that has an early childhood pathway. So that might be an option to have, some high schoolers or something working in those FACS departments to come in, if it's just, an hour or so, or even those different areas of college. There's Emporia State. And I know for me, like employees, I've always reached out to the colleges, and they've been able to send me people. So it might be an option.
I love all of just catching up on the chat. Just appreciate all of your great ideas for our department to look at, definitely as we're planning our first session.
Dina, did you raise your hand again?
Yeah, one thing that I've had a little experience working with large regional groups of childcare providers, and whatever the agenda ends up being is maybe, especially at the beginning of this conversation at this event, that these are the things that we are going to talk about. And then it might even be necessary to have these are the things that this is not appropriate to talk about. Because sometimes I've been in a room with 170 childcare providers. Sometimes you have to set those limits that we're not going to discuss individual issues with a surveyor, kind of set those ground rules and make sure whoever is facilitating that, if that does happen, how to steer everybody back to a positive and productive conversation and stick to the agenda. That's probably would be helpful going into these types of situations.
Yeah, absolutely. Yes, like Melissa said, we'll have rules of engagement. I think sometimes you need to, just maybe a friendly reminder a couple times throughout of those rules of engagement. And I think also I think it's going to be a delicate balance of we want to have big childcare conversations, but also this is licensing focused. And so we want to have conversations about challenges that can be addressed. Not to say the other ones aren't important, but I think it's so easy for those conversations to kind of steer in a direction that either isn't helpful or is just it's just not the right place. So I appreciate that. I think that will probably be one of the biggest challenges, and we'll just have to kind of go in prepared for that. I know we just have a couple minutes left, so I think if we're okay, I'm going to kind of close this conversation for now because we'll pick it back up in October. But thank you again for all the offers, particularly for people in the Abilene region. We will reach out and just kind of have you know you're on our radar for attending, and we'll get an invite out and all of that before too long. Does anybody have any we don't typically do member bright spots. We just had a packed agenda today. So I just wanted to see if anybody had something really exciting about their work they want to share or upcoming events or anything like that.
I don't mind sharing. We actually have our 4th annual Family Jam Fest that is coming up here in just a few weeks. So if you know of anybody that's going to be around October 5th and would like to go see what a full lineup of music is and food trucks, and we've got about 30 different resource vendors for the community. So it's going to be, how it is in Kansas weather, pray for really good weather. Last year it was beautiful. So hopefully this year it will be too, but we're just trying to, spread our information all around so everybody can attend who'd like to.
Perfect. Thanks, Mandy. If you want, feel free to email me or Melissa the flyer, and we're happy to send it out to everyone. And that's just true for anybody. We can always send out to the group.
Thank you.
Any other exciting news?
All right, Megan, I think we can.
I was going to say I could share real quick. So for all, I can't share real quick.
Maybe next time.
Let Melissa add that into chat. I just wanted to thank everybody for your giving of your time. This is you're volunteering to be a part of our systems improvement team. We already know you have a packed schedule. So giving 90 minutes a month is truly appreciative, and just cannot say enough as we get into a normal year that is not so as fast-paced as last year with our regulation review. And we can be more focused now on moving through on again, just our systems work, where we really lie. But Melissa, you're back.
I was just getting ready to type in. So I was just going to say for a long time, I've worked with the high school program here in Manhattan with the FACS program and just having high school kids that would come in and job shadow. However, this past couple weeks, the university actually reached out to me. So I have a couple college girls that are college freshmen, and they are coming in to do some shadowing and just see other options for early childhood education and how family childcare plays into that. So that has been a lot of fun, and they've had a lot of good questions, and it's kind of been a neat and different experience from the high school kids. So I'm happy to see that happening at the collegiate level now too.
That's how we grow our group, and that's how we keep our workforce going. So I appreciate you, just as a provider, opening up your doors for that. So thank you.
Well, thank you all again for your time. We truly appreciate it, and we will see you back in mid-October. So enjoy the rest of your month. Feel free to reach out if you have any other questions or think of anything else. And if you have any like flyers or anything you want to share, and we'll see you soon. Thank you all.
Thank you, guys.